So the first thing that we're going to do is to clone sample app and then just run regdb setup so we have some things ready. This is to show the application that we'll be using for the bebox demonstration. So it's just a normal sample app from the Ruby on Rails tutorial, in which you can just sign in or sign up. A very basic Rails application. So now we can gem install bebox. And it installs it. And then by running bebox, we should have the command available. Now we just create a new project, issuing bebox new simple web app. And we can tell here to download or select a .box file that we can have, or to use the default one, which is an Ubuntu server. Okay, we have cut the video here, and let's assume that we already have downloaded the box file, and we will do the same procedure. You can see that there's already a box. We have downloaded a box, so we can just paste a path for the file to use, and then we choose which provider do we have. So we are using VirtualBox. Well, this is creating the skeleton for our bebox provisioning repo. So we can cd into the newly created directory. It works pretty much like a Rails generator, so there we have it, and it just has created those files and folders that we will see in a moment. In order to show you what actually happens with the box files, we see that the boxes are put with a symbolic link to the original location, so we can reuse them when we establish new projects, when we create them. Now if we issue a tree, the tree command, into here, we can see that has created a lot of files, and basically what we have here is a cap file, a gem file, a config folder in which we have all the deployments, stages, keys for the different environments, the Puppet repository, in which we have a predefined version of Puppet already captured, also a prepare folder, some profiles, and we will be using roles and profiles scheme from Puppet in order to organize our files, our Puppet files. There's also a folder for the roles and for steps that would be sequential runs for Puppet apply that we'll be seeing when we develop the demo later on. We also have some templates for various purposes within the profiles. Conceptual help for the tool. And now if we run bebox from the folder, we can see that we have some additional commands. For example, environment. The first thing that we should do here is to listing the environments. As you can see, there's contextual help. We already see that there are three different environments, which is production, staging, and vagrant. There's also a subcommand node in order to see what available commands for managing nodes there are. Also, we can do the same thing as with environments, which is listing nodes. Currently, there are no nodes in the environment, and the default environment that bebox uses is vagrant. And for example, we can see that yes, actually is the default environment is vagrant, and we are creating a new node into the environment. So we just give it a host name and an IP address so that we can create that node definition. It is not actually creating a machine, but it would soon do. So as you can see, it has already inserted some files and modified some of them. Also, there's something called checkpoints, in which we can see that for any given environment, there's no definitions put into there. The checkpoints have the information that we have created for the node. So we can check that into source control, of course. Now that we have a node, we see that a new command has appeared, a new subcommand, which is prepare. The bebox prepare command will create the vagrant machine according to the box file specified when we created the project, and it will also configure the hostname and IP address to connect to that machine. Over here we are fast forwarding a little bit the video so we can see. So for example, there's setting the fully qualified domain name according to the host name, and we're also manipulating the etc host file in order to have a direct DNS. Well, as you can see, here it has created the machine and it's already running. We should be able to see also, as I was mentioning, the etc host file has been modified in order to point to that given hostname with the IP address. We can see that there's also a backup file for the host file, just in case you had something to recover from there. Now if we issue bebox again, we see that we have additional tasks, which are vagrant halt, vagrant up, profiles, and roles that we have the nodes ready, and also a command to apply the configuration. So if we see in the subcommand role, we have this several commands to manage roles. So we will create a new role, which is a simple Rails app, and basically one role is associated with only one node, and a role means that it has only one purpose. So the role is named after the app in this case because it's basically to run the whole application. Over here we are doing the same thing with profiles, which are mainly associated with a given technology. We can also give them a category, like for example category, a simple category that will create under Puppet profiles another folder which will have the Ruby profile. This Ruby profile that we just created is going to contain all the needed Puppet files in init pp to install RVM and other tools needed to install Ruby. We are not doing anything special here, we're just creating an organization. It is not the actual code that we are generating, we're just giving names to the different profiles and roles so that we have them ready. So this is just to set up a structure. Later on we will copy the code, the actual code for the Puppet files in order to give the actual implementation for the provisioning. So over here we are setting the role to the server, to the node, in which we choose the existing node and an existing role. And we can see that if we go and see on steps, the first step, which is the fundamental, it includes the fundamental role, that is one role that is for default, which installs a Puppet user. And then if we see the services step, we can see that it's already including in that given node the role that we defined. So we can do the same thing for roles. Basically a role is comprised of many profiles, so we can add a profile to a given role, multiple of them. So we're gonna do this one by one, which would be to give this role, to include in this role the simple Ruby profile and also the simple Nginx unicorn profile. So we just do that. We just did that one by one over here. If I show you the Puppet roles step, well, the manifest for the simple Rails app, you should see that it includes the two profiles that we have configured. Now if we can tell bebox to apply each of the steps, so for example we specified step 0, which will create a Puppet user. The Puppet user will be the one used to always execute the other Puppet applies for the subsequent steps. And we can see that it was successful, and then we can apply, if we do again the bebox applied step 0, bebox is smart enough to tell us that it has been already provisioned to step 0, and if we want to re-provision it, so we're gonna tell it that no, that everything's fine, just in case we want to rerun some provisioning step. Now we just tell it to run the following step, which is step 1. In this step, what we have is the Puppet installation, itself. Oh, sorry. Step 0 was the one to install Puppet, and install. Step 1 is installing just the basic users, the basic Puppet user. Now we can see that several. We have pasted the code for the actual profiles to include. The profiles have their manifests, and they have the actual implementation for the provisioning. So we define the classes and all the relationships needed, include the resources and the regular Puppet code that you would include. Also include other modules. So it's if we recall, is just a composition of nodes that have roles, that have profiles, that have modules. And we can also see that every step has its own era or hierarchy, in which the configuration for that specific step is held. So we just pasted that directly from our example. So you can see that we're just showing what the actual code for the provisioning on Puppet would be used. We are using Puppet files over here to determine the modules that will be used in each of these steps. So we don't have to copy them. We just can relate to them and automatically download them with LiveWire and Puppet. So for example, we have created anyway, if you want, you can create also in modules, any custom modules, and they will be used in the step that you're currently using. So any modules that you wish to create yourself, you should just put it into the modules for the given step. Now we will just apply step 2, which is the services. This will actually provision the server that we created, the node that we have created, with all the needed tools and services to run the application, the sample application that was shown at the beginning. By default, step 3 has some nice defaults on security, and this will apply a security layer that already has some IP tables and fail to ban configured, and some other simple stuff. But you can actually write into the security layer whatever you want to, and by creating new steps, you can also define new layers. Now we have jumped to the sample application repository. We're just gonna deploy into the Vagrant environment, which is we're gonna do first the deploy setup and deploy update, so the code is copied. We have to do that this way so that the unicorn that we installed via bebox starts properly. So over here we just deploy the application and we just gonna start it. As you can see, those it's executing very simple commands to install and to run the application. Over here we have the application on localhost, and since the etc host file was modified, we can just go into our host name, and it's pointing to the application that we have deployed into our servers, into our virtual machines. And as you can see, it has been very easy to do, and we have organized our workflow. So that's it. We're done.